It was 2004 I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
At the time we were living in Charleville in central west Queensland. I was there with my oldest daughter and my wife was on the coast at the time having our third child. On the coast as in Maroochydore, where her parents live. I came down to visit after the baby was born and wasn't feeling well. I'd hurt my back lifting some furniture. Went to the local GP. He said just some anti-inflammatories, have a week off, you'll be right. Went back again, back and forth 3 times. Basically in the end they said go back to Charleville, you'll be right, just take it easy. I got up to go back on the Tuesday morning and my wife, who'd just got out of hospital, said, how about you go for a second opinion? Went down the road to another one of the doctors, local GPs at the coast, and he said, how about we go for a blood test just to rule out leukaemia? And
wow.
I was sort of a little bit taken back, said, yeah, whatever. Had the blood test and he, at 11 o'clock, and he rang me at about 4 and said sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he said get up to the Budrum Private Hospital. There'll be a doctor meet you up there, a specialist. Was there for a couple of nights. He said you'll need to go to Brisbane, to the Mater, and he teed it up with Dr. to come down and see him. And that was the Friday morning. He said be there by 7. Arrived at 7:15 and started treatment at 7:30.
What a surreal
Yeah.
experience. Was that very numbing for you?
Well, it was a little bit, obviously great shock because I didn't know anything about leukaemia. And the first question I asked was it the same as what Simon O'Donnell had? Because that's the only person I've ever known that's had leukaemia, high profile person.
Yeah.
And he said, no, a little bit worse than that. And we didn't sort of think too much and, yeah, just go down and have the treatment.
So it was quite a sudden onset. What
Yeah.
kind of leukemia did you have?
It was acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
Okay.
And it was, I had a high white cell count of 183, I think it said. And there was about six platelets, 6 count on platelets. So we came down and I had a white cell reduction for 2 days. Yeah, I came down and sort of didn't know what we were going to do. The doctor said I'd be in hospital for a while. I said, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I sort of thought for the worst all the time, and you know that I was going to die and all the rest of it, and didn't really know a lot about it. Didn't know anything about chemotherapy or treatment. Just sort of believed what the doctor told me. Just said, yeah, okay, let's get started on it.
So did you share your fears with your wife, or did you try and keep them to yourself?
We sort of didn't have a lot of time together. She rarely came to visit at the hospital.
Okay.
And I said, don't bother coming over, just, you know, purely through having the rest of the kids.
So do you feel you might have cocooned yourself just to get yourself through it, or did you have other family?
Oh no, I had other family. My brother came down, and I've got my 2 sisters here in Brisbane.
And you're all close?
Yeah, close, and had plenty of good friends came to visit, and it was just a matter of my wife Kelly and the kids trying to settle in down here, and her mother came down and lived here with us for the 10 months, or for the first 10 months, to help with the baby and whatnot. But she was a little bit worried too about coming over with me having chemo and the possible effect on the baby, and whether there was anything, and she didn't like to be around, you know, with a baby, other sick people, and I didn't want her sitting by my bedside for hours and hours when she could be, you know, with the kids. So yeah.
So you mentioned that you that then felt that you needed a transplant.
Yes. Yeah.
What was that process like for your siblings? And was one of them a man?
No. Well, what they had their blood test, whatever they do.
Tissue typing.
Yeah, tissue typing, and we just waited. It took a few weeks actually, I think, or initial tests and then second tests, and they weren't within QE of a match of me, and it sort of didn't question my heritage and my mother's background and whether I really was part of the family. But we sort of worked it out that my father is full blood Austrian, and being then a mixed race, he said it's hard to match and that sort of stuff. So they went out to the World Australian Register, and there wasn't anyone, and then to the World Register, and they said there wasn't anyone, that they'd pulled a wrong file on me and said there wasn't a match. So I felt a bit depressed at that stage, but by the time I'd got home from the hospital, they rung and said they actually had a match. And all I knew was she was a 47-year-old lady from America.
Just tracing back,
Yep.
when you know, that time during not having anything on offer for transplant,
Yep.
that would have been a very anxious time for you.
It was. I sort of didn't know the full effect of why I had to have a transplant, because I'd got into remission fairly quickly. And I said, well, I'm right, you know, I'm in remission. He said, well, probably not, you'll be right for 18 months, but you're more than likely going to relapse.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, well, I've got to have a transplant. Always
Did you
wanted,
set yourself goals?
yeah, I wanted to get back to work was a big goal. Well, obviously trying to get out of hospital, you know, and not visiting on a regular basis, so not a daily basis, and breaking it down to I've only got to go every 3 days now. And then leaving the leukemia village was another big milestone, and actually moving to Maroochydore into our house.
Yeah.
So that was a good milestone, but scary, because you're so used to the routines of the hospital and the comfort almost of hospital and security.
Were you a little bit depressed?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then I thought, well, I've got to get home.